Hi guys, welcome back to another fun conversation with me, your favorite tech girl, Aarushi. And quick introductions, I have about 7+ years of experience building tech product. In these 7 years, I have worked as a developer, then as a marketer, then as a product manager, and now also as a content creator. And in this channel, we talk about all things tech, product, and general career adulting. This video is very special for me because I have a very special guest for you, and we'll be chatting with him. He's someone who's a very close friend of mine, and in this video, we're going to be understanding from him how he went from his consulting experience to product management to now a very successful entrepreneur, and how that experience has been and what can you learn from that. So without much ado, let's get going.
So a little about me, if you start really early. So I've been born and brought up in Bombay, western suburbs, specific place called Malad. Almost till the age of 18, I was largely in that locality. And whatever early remembrance I have is basically playing cricket only. First 18 years, it's largely around playing cricket, watching cricket. I somehow ended up into engineering college, went to Suratkal, completed my electrical engineering, joined my first company in derivatives trading. It was kind of trading has been one of these things that has been consistent in my life. I'll explain why later, but that was my first job. Then in analytics for some time, then went to IIM Calcutta for an MBA, then did management consulting at AT Kearney, then spent 4 years at Uber, which kind of were my formative years. I learned a lot at Uber, and I did a bunch of roles at Uber, and got a very wide range of exposure across Uber. Post Uber, spent a couple of years at product at Urban Company. That's where we met Aarushi. And then most recently, I've been part of Robo as a co-founder and CEO. So this has been my journey so far. But just to complete the loop, Robo as an idea is the only idea that I've always, even if I've not contemplated starting up much apart from the last few years. But whenever I've thought about starting something up, it was always around something on the lines of Probo. So my first job was trading, and funnily, my dad was always been a trader ever since he came to Bombay at the age of 18, 19. And he told me that, Sachin, I don't think so. This is a job that will suit you that much. And I don't understand. I never understood why he's telling me this first day of the job. And funnily, after 6 months, I actually didn't enjoy the job and I quit. It's a very boring, mundane product, but so much liquidity and volume. So I always wondered why people are willing to speculate or hedge against this. Why can't people speculate the same on, what is going to be BJP's net Lok Sabha tally, or what will be India's score? So why can't there be futures around everything? Why can't there be, a new asset class called information derivatives? And this is a question that I always had for 8-10 years. And then finally we said, why not build it out of our own? So maybe that's
quite terrific. Actually, eventually you have these conversations with your friends that I'll bet that this is not going to happen, and then you just made something out.
If you allow me to plug on what is latest, we are building at Probo. It's a product that we call Rai, which is rupee.ai. Shivam has named it along with his friend Sudhanva. So full credit to Shivam and Sudhanva. You can call out their names, please.
For sure.
So the product name is Rai. Yes, exactly. The product name is Rai. Okay. And Aarushi, you'll really appreciate it. Why this is a product that you'll like it? Because you have been part of our product group. And you remember 7-8 of us, you, me, Akansha, Shivam, Jatin, and all of us used to have really, fun banter all the time. So imagine there is someone who's saying, "अरे मैं ये product बना रहा हूँ, इसके ये features हैं, मुझे अभी bandwidth दे दो, मैं ये कर दूंगा." And someone just plugs out a phone and says, "Okay, can you just repeat that?" And imagine that contract being written. Whatever you say, that contract gets converted into a contract. So suppose Shivam says this will lead to a 10% uplift in payment conversions, and you will say, "Hell no." And this automatically gets linked to a query on Jarvis.
Okay.
And then 30 days later, people get settled.
Oh man.
If you can. So this is rupee.ai. Rupee.average Indian, which is Rai, for Rai chunks of India. So we're building this truth checker. This is our ultimate aim. So Shivam is working, really heads deep in this. This is one of the things that we are very interested about. Uh, so this is what we are building.
Basically, if you and I
Right.
have a conversation right now, and I say, I mean, 5 days ago, we would have had a conversation that the chances of moon landing, I would say, are zero. It's not going to happen. It's going to burst off, and you would have said yes. So the moment it landed, it would have like taken away some money from my account and paid to yours.
Yes.
And the
And settled it.
platform is like your automated system in the side. So
We
that's
can do it on this YouTube video also. इसके कितने views आएंगे? How many views will this?
oh man.
Which is your biggest anxiety each time?
Satta nahi, sorry.
No, no, this is not satta. This is hedging and
Okay.
trading and
Oh, okay, okay. What was your learning after you became an entrepreneur? Like it's been what, 2 years now since you've been at it, and maybe a few years before when you were building a beta version and so on. So, how was the journey like? And walk us through that.
it has been 3 years now, close to 3 years, 2.5, 3 years. I would say journey has been up and down. The first 20, 24 months were very, very good. Probo has been doing really well beyond all our expectations. To be very honest, when we started the company and even our early believers, early team members, early backers would have laid out certain estimates. Probo kind of crossed all those estimates in terms of our revenue. The peak revenue that we hit was close to 50 million annualized run rate. And some of the folks in industry only tell us that this is one of the fastest companies to hit to that landmark. And honestly, we never planned for it. It was an outcome. But after that, of course, there have been challenges, multiple challenges, both from an external environment, market environment, regulatory environment, GST tax environment. Uh, so we have seen both sides of it. We have seen the thrills. We have also seen uh, the dark sides, as people may call it. But net, the journey has been very satisfying. I'm grateful that we have been able to get a chance. There are 100 people alongside us at Robo. And now, as we see this, it's no longer a small baby. So you can see it's almost a toddler now. And we still have 20, 40-year journey ahead. So now just trying to gear up into how to set this up into next decade at least.
Yeah, but what are the skills you'd say someone who's going in they should definitely have? I remember we spoke a lot about philosophy when you were starting this, that you need to have that clear, you're clear headed and all of those things. But yeah, if you have to say now, what would it be?
My belief is, see, there are different reasons why you can start building your own company or doing something on your own. It can be either independence, it can be independence in terms of financial independence, making a certain amount of money, or trying to solve a particular problem, or some would say make a dent in the universe. But my belief is that once you start doing something, even at a meaningful scale, which is more than 10, 20, 30 people, very soon building a company is like 10, 20 years of investment minimum. There are very few examples where people are able to build a company and sell it in 4 or 5 years and take it to a reasonable scale, but typically it takes 8 to 10 years. So unless you really like something, one should not over romanticize the idea of being a startup founder. Honestly, it's not worth it. So only if you have something that is deeply burning inside you and you feel that you can devote 8, 10 years to it, that's a good starting point for someone to think about entrepreneurship. Rest, I think, if you have this passion or whatever purpose, I think basic skills, each one has their own. Some are good at building stuff, some are good at selling stuff. Even if you're good at one or two and people who are good at one or two other things, you can come together with them and build a product and 100 other ways that are there on the internet to build a startup. But the most important ingredient is, I think, passion or purpose,
Yeah.
and then people.
One thing I've always thought about, and I think you'll be the right person to answer. There are a lot of people who start up right after college, and they wouldn't have this kind of awareness about themselves. What am I good at? What do I know? I mean, I did not know. But then once you've been in the industry for a bit, you've understood your weaknesses, your strengths. You've understood yourself a bit more, right? What do you see are the pros and cons of starting up right after college versus doing it a bit after?
See, the immediate benefit of starting right after college is you get the benevolence of one is ignorance, and sometimes they say ignorance is bliss. So some of the most whatever data has presented. If you see Bill Gates or Apple, Steve Jobs or Zuckerberg, they're very out, fresh out of college. And then there's of course Bezos, Netflix, who are not just out of college and they took some time. So there are enough examples on both sides. My belief is age is just a number. Doesn't matter when that realization comes. To some people it comes at 20, some at 32, and some at 45, 50, 60. McDonald's, some of these examples, if you see, people have gone all the way to 50, 60. So honestly, that doesn't matter. But yes, one of the things that happens in early years is that uh, because you're less exposed, the chances of you, if you get it right, uh, really compounding on it for a longer period of time is better. So the sooner you start is better.
Okay. So you said that you have, you've been a trader, then you went for your MBA, became a consultant, did a stint in Uber, then product, and then here. How do these skills add up to your entrepreneurial journey now? Like, have you picked up skills? Like you said, trading helped you figure out the idea itself, but the other experiences, how have they helped you?
See, if you ask me objectively, all of them have helped because I've learned analytics for a fair bit of time. I've spent a lot of time doing strategy, finance, stratfin work, some bit of marketing, fraud, and then a lot of tech at Urban Company. And all these are different aspects or business verticals in Probo. So whenever you hire someone for those roles or someone is not there, someone has to step into a, say, a marketing discussion or a promotional analysis discussion. It helps at early days. So definitely that's one area. Second is you can empathize with the people who are working in those roles. So having that exposure definitely helps, and I was lucky to get it at different companies at different stages. And second was not to praise myself, but uh, I genuinely believe that when I used to be at a job, I've switched a lot of jobs, but whenever I was at a job, particular job, I used to be very good student and I used to try to really learn. So I'm not sure how much you remember, but at Urban Company, the most recent example, I knew very little about coding or engineering or design for that matter. And most of my time I actually used to spend with junior engineers and junior designers, learning about Figma, learning about how code is being written at the back end, front end, what are the real challenges at API level. So even though I'm not fluent, I would say, in terms of coding, but even for Probo, I have coded an API just to show it to the team that I can also code. You can ask or confirm with Ashish. So sometimes in order to pull theatrics, like in military, they say, only someone who has flown and fighter pilot becomes the highest ranking officer. So my belief is, I come from a very old school of belief where, people, I come from a school where, if you come to McDonald's or some of these old school companies, typically the CEO is not someone who comes from Harvard or some fancy schools. He's someone who has actually come up from the shop floor. Someone who truly understands all aspects. And I feel a CEO has to be street smart guy. So fancy degrees, all these things are good. Maybe people respect it, but I don't respect anyone. I would never trust anyone to run my company unless they have complete understanding of the different. It's a very. I at least treat our company as a very, very, very sacred machine. So all parts, at least we want someone who's really good at different things.
Like I've actually, like, you've been my manager, and I know that from them. I mean, just right now, when I was like speaking to you, sharing the details about my channel, and you were like, okay, don't bluff, tell me the real stuff. So you always call out when somebody's bullshitting or somebody's trying to hide something. You, like, first principle thinking or trying to get to the facts. That's very clear with you.
No, this is the entire Robo, the entire value prop is lagi paach ki.
What skills can a product manager take from the product experience into his entrepreneurial gig?
See, if the product anywhere has linkage to tech, then definitely product journey has a huge linkage. Apart from that, being a product manager, and if you're doing a very meaningful product role, typically the bigger the company, the meaningfulness of the role actually decreases. Even though you're a product manager by design, and Aarushi, you'll agree to me on this, that if you're doing a very miniature feature, it doesn't matter unless you're doing it at a scale where you're managing entire payment stack, where you get to see end-to-end experience at least. But most of the big companies, people उसमें भी छोटा छोटा बांट देते हैं, यूपीआई ये देख रहा है, सक्सेस रेट कोई और देख रहा है, पेमेंट गेटवेज का इंटीग्रेशन कोई और देख रहा है. So remove the slicing and dicing, but if you're able to manage a product end to end, तो उसका एक मीनिंगफुल एक्सपीरियंस होता है, क्योंकि then you can craft a product or an offering. Second is, of course, if you're a product manager and your product, whatever you're building, uh, involves tech, then you have understanding of tech, some level of tech, and ability to project manage and guide the team. But
Right. So project management, understanding of tech, and generally building something end to end. Those are the kind of skills that you should pick up from project. Yeah, I think this
so
clarity
my
of thinking is something that's always when your theme, whenever we speak, you talk a lot about it. How does one achieve it? Like, what's your pathway towards achieving that?
no, I would not say I have had a lot of clarity. Uh, Basic exercises, basically clarity comes from silence. And I would say if everyone can practice 15-20 minutes of just sitting idle in one place. So people say ki, and I was reading, and I've been reading a lot over the last 4 or 5 years actually, that some of the rishis, and if you go to some of these mutts, even till date, people are able to sit, in meditative positions for 6, 6, 8 hours at stretch. But what I ask people in my team and whoever I work with, that even if you can sit for 15 minutes in one space, not doing anything, not twiddling your phone, not doing anything, it's also a good starting point to build clarity. Because once you can focus on anything for 15 minutes, or on nothing for 15 minutes, then in any meeting, no matter what is the situation, the simplest hack is, suppose you are in a meeting as a CEO or as any product leader or as any homemaker or anyone who's multitasking. There are positions in the week, no matter what's your hierarchy, how big a company you're leading, where there are 10 things, and just being able to shut down everything, keep it in pause for 15 minutes, and then again rearrange it, is a superpower. So, but this is something we have forgotten. It's a very basic hack. So I would advise this. This is one of these things one can practice to never panic.
I completely agree with that. A lot of times, if I'm just like ironing my clothes, I would still want friends or something in the background so that there's just some noise. And I realized that it's a problem. That takes me to the, to the next thing. So you guys have, built so many things for India. What's your take at, this, like, how is India changing now? And you have stayed in India. I'm sure you had a lot of opportunities to move outside India as well. So, what's your take at how is India changing? And for those who are moving out, why should or shouldn't they be moving out?
No, I was going through your videos, and I feel that apart from getting into product management specifically, which we can go into, the second or third most asked category is, how can I get a job in Dubai or some foreign place? Honestly, I have traveled to Dubai, Singapore, Saudi, some parts of Europe, LATAM, and US also for different work at different companies. And whenever I go to a place for more than a week, 2 week, I start feeling homesick. I don't know how it feels with you, but जो इंडिया में रहकर आप गरम खाना खा सकते हो घर पे, उसकी जो फीलिंग है वो सिंपल चीज है, जैसे आफ्टरनून नैप या अपने दोस्तों से मिलना versus in US when you go and you have to schedule an appointment with a friend, or people actually match calendars कि ठीक है Saturday, next to next Saturday let's meet for lunch, and people actually have plans कि who will pay, who will bring. Of course there is no harm and no bad being done, but इतनी level of detail पे planning होती है, तो I believe कि it's to each is their own, but I have never enjoyed a life outside. Of course India has 100 challenges of their own, but for all the net benefits, I have always liked India more than others. But people who want to move abroad, I think the most important thing is skills. I think whichever country or whichever job family you're applying to, mostly just figure out you have the right skills. And I think, like you have, of course, Aarushi, you went to a product job. There is no dearth of it.
Yeah, but
for Indian talent.
not just switching geographies, but you've also switched a couple of jobs, right? You've switched like careers. How was that, and what advice would you give to someone who's planning to switch careers?
My given that I've switched enough careers and I'm not very, I would not. It is not something that I'll advise to everyone.
Oh,
I would say the smartest people. I'll give an example of a person called Raghav Bansal. People can search him. I don't know, he's at a director level at Uber in finance. And I met Raghav in 2017 at Uber. And Raghav was, I think, a 2014 graduate from Pilani or Goa campus or BITS Pilani. And he was in finance. He came from an investment banking background, and then he was in finance, strategic finance function at Uber. And he was very clear that I want to be in finance. And he has been with Uber in finance. And there were a lot of people from 2014 batch, 10, 12 of them, who are currently data scientists, some are product managers. They have changed geographies, jobs, versus Raghav, who's been clearly like an arrow. I want to be in finance. And having seen so many people, I feel the smartest are those who, like I said, take a decision early. Like if you want to start up, take a decision early
mhm,
and then compound over it.
mhm,
But what it happens is early on in our lives, we are so surrounded by so many people and their opinions that we are never able to distinguish what is our true wish versus what is the voice that has been implanted in us by our parents, by our near and dear ones, or maybe people that sometimes we despise also take a lot of real estate in our headspace. So the smarter ones or the luckier ones are those who get a calling early and then they are able to walk on that path.
I mean, right now you yourself are, leading a startup, and you're hiring product managers yourself. So if someone wants to get into product but they don't have previous product experience, how do they get that going?
No, this is a very strange question. And I think your audience may not like the answer for this, but I'm happy to still go ahead. I would say I was hired as a product manager by Abhiraj. He was gracious enough to hire me as a product manager when I didn't have any product background. So mostly I had some analytical skills, problem solving skills, and they wanted someone who had some background exposure in supply, onboarding, finance. And they're willing to take a chance on me. Now, what happens is you just have to find similar companies. Typically, these companies will be at Series A, Series B levels, where they don't have defined hierarchy for product managers. If you go to a Flipkart or some of these companies, these are very technical answers. Maybe these facts have changed in the last 3-4 years, but this is when I was actively recruiting for UC and what we used to look at specifically. So very technical answer. Now each company has their own parameters, so you should generally, if I were a very uh, enthusiastic person, what I will do is I'll make up my CV. I'll do some basic product management free courses, whatever you must have, advised them 100 times, or maybe there are some 10 other blogs people will follow. So I don't know those channels, but you complete your case study, prep everything, and then you build your CV, and then just email 4 to 5 product managers in every company, all the top 100 unicorns. Just email them. 90 of them are tech unicorns. So at least 350 people you email, 25 people will respond. Then you start your journey from there. Hopefully, you should be good at one of these things: data, tech, design, some of these things. So have some basic Figma, some storytelling experiences. So this is the way I would advise a layman to prepare, in the brute force way. But now coming to my answer, we don't hire product managers at Probo because I've realized it is futile to have product managers. I don't believe product manager, and sorry to, as a job family, may survive the next 10-20 years. It will have to evolve.
Going back to the product question that we asked. So you said, you can reach out to these many people, and then there'll be a funnel there, and then someone would respond. That is all, that's all fun and games, as long as you are some tier one college, if you have some labels on your resume. Do you think that will still work for someone who's coming out of a tier two, tier three college and don't have any stamps on the CV per se?
उसको क्या करना है, stamps नहीं है CV पे, तो what does that person want to do?
He wants to still become a
He or
product
she.
manager. Is that a limiting factor?
Okay. So if you allow me through your podcast, and I hope this helps increase the reach of your podcast to 20,000 people. I would say I'll give an open challenge. Even if you are from tier 2, tier 3, I don't even understand what is tier 2, tier 3 college completely, but Imagine you're from tier 2, tier 3 college. I think tier 2, tier 3 is a mindset. If you believe that you're from a tier 2, tier 3 college and then you're no good because you didn't study in year 11th and year 12th, broadly that's it. Then you deserve to be in that mindset. But suppose you believe that whatever you did at 11th and 12th, it's a mistake and you want to work hard. So build a skill, be it design, be it data, and or be it tech. And I would say coding also has different parameters, back end, front end. So try to learn as much as you can during your engineering, which is a very fertile time period for you to learn. And then if you have some ideas, I would say just explore ONDC. And I'm happy to give time directly. And we have a Probo office in Bangalore and we have a Probo office in Gurgaon. So we are happy to, also if you're a bootstrap founder, you can stay there, or we'll figure out some of these basic logistics for you if you want to start up something on ONDC. We believe ONDC is a very, very, very interesting development that is going to happen in the country over the next 5-10 years. And you figure out something. But what I personally would really appreciate is sincere commitment from you guys. So Aarushi, I'll share my email and people can just write to me on email directly. But at least do 50 writes or 50 deliveries or 50 binds across these platforms. At least show some intent, seriousness before showing your application. So it should be a good one-pager application that you should send by what you are building.
That's fair. That's fair. I think I really like the fact when you said it's a mentality. It's nothing more than that. And I keep telling this to my people in my channel as well, that if you're tier 2, tier 3, it doesn't matter. You just have to maybe just show the intent, show that you wanna get through. Yeah, I kind of get that. Airbnb recently has asked their
Yes, yes, exactly. I was coming to the Airbnb example, and I love Airbnb's product, but I genuinely feel a lot of product manager exist because the management does not have the time to go into details. I mean, it's just lazy management. It is a very harsh comment, and it basically says 80% of the unicorns are not doing the job well, and I'm smarter than them. I'm not saying that, but I'm also saying, yes, if you allow me to sit down with you honestly and 15 minutes with anyone, I can explain it to you that if you have more than 15 PMs, no matter what the size and scale of your company in India, barring Flipkart and one or two examples, I can justify that it is not required.
Oh, but you also said that as a role is going to diminish in the next 10 years. What do you mean by that? Yes. How do you think it will change?
If you see Airbnb example, what has happened is, they realized that it is no longer essential to have a product manager to synchronize and some of these things, because what has happened is Airbnb's product, and you have to see what has happened is, let's go, if you allow me to go back to basics and then explain it in very simple terms. You have to see the evolution of silicon wafer, right, since 1960s 50s, जहां से Xerox और ये कैलकुलेटर, ये बेसिक एप्लीकेशन से स्टार्ट हुए, पर्सनल कंप्यूटिंग, फिर एप्पल और फिर सॉफ्टवेयर आया, फिर एप्पल और माइक्रोसॉफ्ट के वॉर्स हुए, फिर वो एप्पल हार गया फर्स्ट वॉर, सेकंड फिर फॉर्म फैक्टर आया, डिवाइसेस, हैंडहेल्ड्स, और उसमें एप्पल ने रीगेन किया, तो उसमें वापस जो स्टैक आया, छोटा फॉर्म फैक्टर, सिलिकॉन वेफर सेम है, मेमोरी है, बट अब पूरी कंप्यूटिंग जो होती है वो क्लाउड पे होती है, जो पहले लोकल होती थी सेकंड वेव में. अब अगर आप इसमें देखोगे तो एक चीज जो सेकंड हुई है इंटरनेट की वजह से, कि इंटरनेट वर्ल्ड में हर डिवाइस होने की वजह से हर कोई अपने पास हमेशा लेके घूम सकता है. सो पेनिट्रेशन वाइज device penetration has maximized in the world. First point. Second is screen time is maximizing. कोई भी एक एवरेज पर्सन अगर अपने डिवाइस, स्क्रीन, टीवी और ये 5-6 जो सारी इधर लगती है जो डिवाइसेस, स्टीव जॉब्स का ड्रीम थी कि हर घर में एक कंप्यूटर जाए, बट हर घर में 7 कंप्यूटर चले गए. तो आदमी कंप्यूटर से ही लिंक्ड है, इधर हर चीज से लिंक्ड है. तो हुआ क्या है, सारे पीएम्स मिलके जो जुड़ गए हैं, स्क्रीन टाइम, वॉच टाइम, यूट्यूब टाइम मैक्सिमाइज करने में एक मंकी लैंड बन चुका है, कि वर्ल्ड में जो स्क्रीन टाइम है वो मैक्सिमाइज हो चुका है. एंड आई थिंक देयर इज अ करेक्शन नीडेड देयर. सो नेट अगर वो करेक्शन आना है तो दिस जॉब फैमिली हैज टू पेरिश, मतलब मैक्रो लेवल पे.
How will it change? Like, will it completely die away or will they transition into something else?
नहीं, वो बहुत हार्ड है कहना, और मैं उस पर वो नहीं कह रहा मतलब कि किस एग्जैक्ट तरीके से होगा, बट एक मैं एनालॉजी समझाता हूँ जो मेरी इंटरनेट पे मेरी पर्सनल बिलीफ है, कि जैसे 100 साल पहले इलेक्ट्रिसिटी थी, 200 साल पहले इलेक्ट्रिसिटी नहीं थी, सबको लगता था कि, और ये मेरा अजम्पशन है कि कैसे होता होगा 200 साल पहले जीवन में, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी नहीं है, रात को 7 बज गए, अब चुपचाप जाके सो जाओ, छोटी सी लैंटेन वैंटेन लगा लिया आपने और उतने से रेडियस में घूम रहे हैं। फिर इलेक्ट्रिसिटी आई, और इलेक्ट्रिसिटी में बहुत सारा इनोवेशन हुआ था, अलग अलग सोर्सेज से बन रहा है, फिर उसका ट्रांसमिशन, फिर जनरेटर्स, फिर स्विच अप जनरेटर, स्विच डाउन जनरेटर्स, 3 फेज करंट, फिर सारा इनोवेशन खत्म हो गया और आज हर घर में इलेक्ट्रिसिटी पीछे बैकअप में पड़ी है, और हमारी सबकी बातें और इलेक्ट्रिसिटी के ना जीवन ही नहीं चल पाएगा। वैसे ही इंटरनेट एक फिनोमिनन था लास्ट 10-20 ईयर्स का, उसका भी एक पीक आ गया है, और मुझे लगता है वो पीक के बियॉन्ड हम, मतलब नेक्स्ट कुछ चीज आएगी अब, मतलब मे बी रियल वर्ल्ड में वापस जाएंगे लोग,
Yeah,
होपफुली।
AI के जमाने में going back to the real world. That's interesting. But I
आई
really
बिलीव,
hope
आई
that happens.
बिलीव।
Yeah.
नहीं तो फिर तो एक ही एंड है ना, मैट्रिक्स जैसे सबको बस प्लग लगा देंगे अंदर, एंड देन यू स्टार्ट इमेजिनिंग रियल वर्ल्ड।
Sometimes I really worry that what if the Black Mirror episodes become real? And it's getting more and more real, right? So,
जब ऐसे लगे ना ज्यादा रियल हो रहा है, तो आप ये फोन डिवाइसेस सब छोड़ दो, और ये प्रोडक्ट मैनेज, इसलिए तो मैं कह रहा हूँ प्रोडक्ट मैनेजमेंट, हम जो बबल में रहते हैं ना, फिर वो ओवर किल कर देता है, वी हैव टू स्टेप बैक सम।
awesome. That makes sense. One last thing is closing thoughts to young grads in India. What's the industry looking like for someone who's in it and trying to solve problems for India? What would you say they should be looking out for in the when they pass out in the next 2 to 3 years?
There's a very simple analogy that Warren Buffett used to say, that he's just smart. He's not smart actually. He has just been smart enough to avoid stupidity. What did he mean by that? Is he said कि I was born in around 1920s 30s. He's 90 plus, which is the best time. World War One just completed, World War Two start हुआ था, Europe first World War क्या, it was already shattered, मतलब अंदर के ढांचे weak हो गए थे, and second World War क्या, of course US की एक सिंगुलर डोमिनेंस रही है लास्ट 70-80 ईयर्स से। तो बेसिकली 1920 से लेकर 2020 लास्ट 100 ईयर्स एक होम रन रहा है यूएस के लिए, अप एंड अप ही रहा है, कोई कंट्री अप गई या नीचे गई। सो इफ यू टेक अ 100 ईयर व्यू, जो हम सब डॉक्यूमेंटेड हिस्ट्री है, मैं भी नहीं कह रहा हूँ 1400-1500 पे चले जाओ जहां पर इंडिया की कोई बहुत बड़ी जीडीपी थी और ये सब, तो एकदम जो डॉक्यूमेंटेड हिस्ट्री है जो उनने लिखी है, तो 100 ईयर्स जो एक सेक्युलर अप साइकिल थी इंडिया की भी, अभी वो अमृतकाल कहते हैं, वो कहते हैं इंडियंस, अगर आप, हाँ ऑफ कोर्स मोमो जामो में मत जाओ, बट आई बिलीव कि वो टाइम स्टार्ट हो रहा है। सो 2025 से लेकर 2300 तक इट शुड बी अ गोल्डन पीरियड, मतलब या प्लेटिना पीरियड। सो जस्ट अवॉइड स्टुपिडिटी, जस्ट अवॉइड स्टुपिडिटी, मतलब विच इज, मतलब आई डोंट वांट टू डिस्क्राइब इट एक्सप्लिसिटली, बट जस्ट अवॉइड स्टुपिडिटी। जो आपकी मम्मी, ऐसी कोई भी चीज मत करो जो आपकी मम्मी जिससे वो हो रहे। बाकी स्पेसिफिक एडवाइस है कि इसके अलावा इट डजंट मैटर व्हाट यू आर डूइंग, मतलब एज लॉन्ग एज यू कीप ट्राइंग डिफरेंट थिंग्स, लक विल फाइंड यू।
Oh, that's an interesting one. Keep trying interesting things, luck will find you. I think that's what I would leave my viewers with. That luck will find you. I keep talking about divine intervention a lot myself. Just know the path and just like know it in your head, it will eventually happen for you. So I agree to that.
मैं
And
भी उसी
so that I think I'll close this call. Thank you, Sachin, for joining us. It was extremely, extremely informative and fun conversation that I had. And it was one of my first podcasts as well. So I had a lot of fun. And I'd apologize if there's any content creative quality issues, guys. It's my first time. But thanks, Sachin. Thanks a lot.